think the last time the store's been open was like 04, 05.
Oh wow.
It's another beautiful day in Havasu. It's a little overcast because it rained last night. Probably snowed everywhere else in the country. But I'm on my way to pick up Jimmy, and I think Chrissy's going to come and film. But we're going over to one of the viewers' houses. This guy's name is Joe. He's a retired fireman from Los Angeles, and he's got some Volkswagen parts for us to help with our dune buggy projects. He saw Jimmy's struggle with his engine, and he kicked down a whole bunch of VW parts. So let's go over and meet Joe and see what he's got. What engine is this, Joe? Is this the engine that was in
That's
the
the
car?
engine that was in that sand wheel that I showed you.
So
Hot
after you pulled the
15 out.
15 out,
I built that's a
you built this.
2276.
Was it faster?
Oh. More power, yeah. It was, put it this way, it was fun. I stuck it in that Manx first. After I stopped, I pulled the motor and I'll stick it in there. Forget it.
Yeah,
it's just too much for that car.
Yeah.
But for the sand, it's great. It pulls, and it's, yeah, had that. And it's got all the good parts on it.
What's with this stand thing? I've never seen one of these.
You never seen another one either.
You built this?
Yeah, it's a motorcycle stand from Harbor Freight. Okay. It didn't have any of this stuff up here, obviously. It had I don't know what it had, maybe one bar, I don't remember. But I took it, and my brain, how it works. So, well, you know what? I'm going to make an engine stand and a lift to put motors in and out of. So what I did was I put this on, I welded it to match, obviously, on top of this. And then I added the frame on the bottom with the runners to catch the motor. And what you do is, let's see, it's on. You jack it up, and the motor sits right between the case, or the case sits right between those.
So it sits in this channel.
Sits in that panel, and then you lower it, raise it, whatever you're gonna do. If you're going in a car like yours,
Yeah.
You just go straight. You drop it down to the height you want. Just go straight in.
All right.
And then if you're going in a rear engine like that,
you flip it around.
you just flip it around, and it puts it in and out. You can pull it.
No
in.
way.
Yeah.
That is the slickest thing I've seen all day.
But then the other part of it is this test stand. When I built the motor, you know, it's a pain. It's a pain to put the motor in the car, and you have to adjust the valves and test it. So I thought, well, I'm not going to do that. So I built a stand where you got its own fuel tank, fuel pump, battery.
That's awesome.
And then all the hookups, right?
The gauges.
All the gauges, all the hookups, the wiring, everything. And what you do?
This is the throttle.
That's the throttle. And it just operates off of I don't know where it's actually in here somewhere.
That is slick.
And you can control the throttle.
Why do you got lights on it?
That lights up the gauges.
Oh.
Lights for the
It
gauges.
actually has lights for the gauges.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
going to do it at night. Let's just turn
Yeah,
it
you want to do that at night? You know, you never know. And it just tells you what everything's on, and that's it.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like how you did your.
Oh yeah, that's on a drill press with a the hell did I use?
Engine turned it.
The engine turned it. Yeah,
That
yeah.
looks great.
Yeah, I've always wanted to get an engine, like make some kind of startup stand for a VW, and this is like over the top. Like,
Well, it's you know, it works great.
yeah,
I mean,
this is beyond a professional.
it can do, and then
startup stand.
now this is just the like you want to build a motor right here. You know, you lower this, you drop this down, obviously.
Right, you can build the motor on this stand.
On that stand right there, you can turn it, do all your stuff.
Right.
But if you want to test it, you take that, there's a bell housing over there with an adapter,
Right, that carries the
and you
starter.
put that on there, and it's got the starter on it, and the hookup for all the linkage.
That's what that is.
Yeah, that bolts stuff. That's a
How
Type 2.
slick, how slick
And
is
it
that?
just pins on here the same way.
Wow.
Yeah, you just set it on there, and you can test run the motor and do all your adjustments out here, ready to go. You check your oil pressure, make sure everything's going, adjust your valves, do your carburetors,
Right.
and you're not bending over the car, reaching over this
Sure,
or that. So out here, once it's ready, just put it in, bolt it up.
Check your oil pressure
that's
and
awesome.
everything, and then
Yeah.
That's
full send.
awesome.
So who built this motor? What can you say? about this
Well,
motor?
right here are the specs. The machine work is done by a guy named Steve Nord. He's out in Azusa, California.
Okay.
And he did all the machine work. I built the motor, putting it together. I did all that stuff. But, I bought all the parts and things, and yeah, he did it.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then, of course, the transaxle, I'm not a good guy on transaxle, so I had a company do that when they built a trans for it.
Yeah, and the trans that come out of your buggy is actually
It's in this car, yeah. But I had to have it re-geared because it was just too low.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh yeah, without the paddles.
Well, yeah. Just
Right.
crazy, yeah, so.
That is an amazing. That's the coolest thing. I've never even seen anything.
And that's just
remotely-
something, that's how my mind works. I look at something and how can I make this work? I love doing that. How do I make this thing work?
Yeah, but that's one thing though. But the thing is that in execution,
Oh, yeah.
it's as amazing as an engineer could have sat for 3 weeks and drawn.
Yeah, it's
Sometimes this is usually version 2 or 6 for me. I don't get there on the first shot. That's pretty
It
cool.
worked out pretty good.
Well, Jimmy, we have an engine startup stand now.
Yeah, we do.
Joe hooked us up.
No engine will be safe now.
And
There you go.
a ton of good parts for your buggy. Like,
Oh, that's-
unbelievable. That's going to be so awesome.
That's
That
awesome.
shocks,
What's good about it
all
is
that
that
stuff.
those parts are all from the era that you're doing, the Mazzone
Okay.
car.
Oh yeah.
Because that's, when I was doing it, it was Mazzone, you had J&J
Okay,
chassis,
right.
you had Apple Tree, you had Sand Cars Unlimited.
Right.
And that was in that car. That was a California Motorsports car. And there was others, you had High Jumper and different cars, but
Right.
the parts are all from that era. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, everything lines up and matches. You don't got to make anything work, and it's not Chinese stuff. So
Right.
yeah, that's the good part of
Yeah.
that.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
what a
so-
good deal. Well, we'll get this stuff loaded up and
Okay.
get on out of here. I appreciate everything, Joe.
Sure. Yeah, then. Glad to help you guys out. Like I said,
yeah.
I'm never going to use it again.
No, I
And
appreciate
I'm
it.
glad it's going to somebody who's going to be able to use it and have fun doing it.
Absolutely.
Another beautiful day in Havasu.
Hi.
McKay is back from the land of the. Where'd you get that hair? You were born with it? Yeah, so I got McKay over here. Let's show you what McKay's working on here. I'm tearing apart airplane. I should have McKay working on airplane, but I got McKay working on a Volkswagen here. McKay, he's like living the
Yeah, I go to
the high
work.
school days.
I go to work for 3 weeks and he come back and there's this flying machine in the shop.
Yeah, the flying machine. What do you think of that, McKay? What do you think of my aeroplane?
Well, I think if the wings rotated, it would be better.
Yeah, but no, because then you'd be like, what do you want with this home-built experimental Ellie death trap? If the wings rotated, he'd cut it up and throw it in the trash because it's not a Bell 406. Anyway, we're going to try to start up this here motor. This was a motor that I built out of some junk. We just scored us an exhaust this morning. Okay, we'll get that bolted on. We'll put a coil on it. We'll get some gasoline. We got to hook up these J tubes. So these J tubes are kind of a deal, but we'll get it figured out. And we got more Volkswagen parts here, and we are in Volkswagen building mode. So yeah, this is my hardware stack, McKay. What do you think? Looks like the right nut, huh?
That one work.
Yeah. McKay has got an exhaust system on here. It's a bloop 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 loud thing. We've got fuel line hooked up. We've got, I got this messed up. I have this over there, but We've got fuel regulator, we got coil. It's kind of dangerous here, but that's how we roll. We're ready to see if this thing will start. See how she sounds. So, this motor's brand new. I've never started it. I did build oil pressure. I had oil all over the floor. We got fuel. The distributor should be close. Ooh. On those 2 cylinders. For some reason it's only running on 1/2 the carburetor. Brand new Chinese carburetor. Surprise, surprise. That's a surprise, no surprise, I guess, because it's Chinesium. So we'll tear the jets out of it and see what's going on. Okay, so what we found was one of the idle jets could have possibly been plugged, and we rifled and stifled and looked at everything. We've got it temporarily back together, so we're going to fire it up again and see if it'll behave. So let's give it test number 976.1. Hot.
A lot better.
Seized up though.
Did?
Yeah, it hot seized. So we gotta get some air going across these cylinders, but it sounds a lot better, other than it seized up right there when it quit. So I don't know. We'll let her cool down, and then we'll get some get a belt on it and get some airflow going through it, and then get it happy. So we'll get back at you. So me and Jimmy are here with Ray Stevens.
Yeah, we are.
And we're getting a couple of really cool motors. Dude, look at that.
That's awesome.
That's the
That's an
the
OG.
lid off that
That's
car.
so cool.
So that is the trunk lid off that car. Well, that's the engine cover. Anyway, look at this guy. You think he was crazy? Hey, is this you?
Yep. That's a sand rail, and again, that's back in the.
That's amazing.
Okay, now, basically,
With 4 inches of suspension trail.
basically back in the day, and okay, I'm gonna tell.
Is that Pismo?
No.
Where is this at?
No. I had some friends that were there were some sand dunes out in the middle of Death Valley.
Okay.
Where the way we get up
That's
there.
the Devil's Playground.
They
right?
used to go up there every year, and we go up 395, to Lone Pine and Bishop
Yep.
and stuff, a little bit longer, and then you turn in, and we go about an hour and a half or plus on a dirt road.
Oh,
and
wow.
actually, those dunes and stuff are now, but out in the middle of the desert, there was this huge sand dune that was probably, 1 to 2 miles wide and about 4 miles this way, and it had big potholes and everything else. And they used to, the 2 brothers used to go out there, and then I did some work for them and this, that, and I wanted to go out there with them. That's where that's taken. And we would go out there, and what they did is we played tag. One guy, one buggy, but there's 3 of us, right? And so the first day when they get up there, they say, look, we're just going to drive around all the sand dunes because there's big, witches' tits, big
Oh,
fish
yeah.
eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm running a whip, on the top of my thing.
Right.
And what they do is they would go down and play tag. But one guy would be it, and then you'd get anywhere between a 1 minute to a 5 minute head start, and then the 2 other ones
Come and catch you.
right. So the first day, but you want to find out, and on the back side, I found a couple of these big blowout holes that I could get my buggy down in the bottom of it, and my whip wasn't sticking out. So I shut off and sit there, and I hear where they're going, and when they get close, and you jump out.
Jimmy, when we go to the sand
Yes.
We're playing tag.
But
Tell me
anyway,
about this La Carrera.
okay, yeah, La Carrera.
What was the first year you went to this race? How did you get
Actually-
involved with it?
Actually, that orange car over there,
Okay.
I built that for La Carrera, and it says right there on the door, I think it's 07.
Okay.
And then actually we went down there, I think once also in 04, but then I got hooked up with more people, and we did, 13, 14, we did multiple years in a row. That car there I built for Mexico is a 68 911. That was an early short wheelbase one. And I had a 2.4 liter in it that I built. That one was pretty straightforward. It just had a good, you have to have because of the roads and stuff, for the safety, they require, roll cages, the calibered, and inspections of European rally racing. Because
Okay, so
guys, when you get off,
they're very-
you're off.
Yeah, they're very stringent.
Right, I mean, they're
very,
big. But anyway,
These engines that I've whittled out of you, what involvement did they have with some of this?
well, okay, the one with the broken crank, that
Okay.
is that we were running, a big motor, and
So-
where you turn and everything.
Obviously, you had a problem down there, and you ended up in one of the cities, broke down. What happened to your engine that day, your race engine, when you broke down?
What with the
The
accident?
original engine.
Oh, okay.
When
Well, what
you-
happened
when
is
you-
at the end of the day, he came into town, and the motor had developed a light rattle.
Okay,
and
so
I think this
it had
was-
a bearing going away or
Well,
something.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, and there was only one more day to finish the race, and the guys wanted to finish it.
Right.
It was on day 6. So they wanted to run day 7, and like I said, it's it's still running. You can drive it, but it's not going to make it.
Yeah, it's
I
going
don't want to waste the whole thing. So we're at the hotel and everything. I'm about ready to go to bed, and they call me all down to the thing, and he says, "Hey, we found this guy, and he's got a Volkswagen repair shop in town, and he has a VW Bug that he drives, and he is willing, and he is willing to sell us this engine so we can finish tomorrow. Now it's a bone stock 1600, so it's Mexican 45, 50 horsepower.
Yeah, but it's going to do the job. You're
But
gonna finish.
anyway, I get the car off the trailer, get it there, and I start taking it apart. Of course, with this one here, it has the big motor, has the AccuSump and all this other stuff, and I have all my tools.
Right.
And this guy has his little VW Bug, and he jacks it up, and he has a little toolbox.
Tool bag, yeah.
And he's working on getting his motor out, and with me, of course, I had mine set up. I knew how I had to do it. I had my motor out before he got his motor out.
Zipper on it.
No, it had to be a lot more. But then, like I said, I had to change stuff over because my throttle linkage for dual carbs are different. I made all that, and hey, I got it back together, and they ran the last day. In fact, actually, what happened is that it was like about less than an hour from the finish, and of course they've been running it, and they were running probably faster than what they should have. I said, it's not going to make it.
So they run this poor little 1600
Yeah.
to death, literally.
Right, running was entry.
Let's go look at your car and you can tell us about it.
Yeah.
So what year Porsche is this?
This is a 64.
64 356, right?
Right, C model.
C model 356.
Right.
So
But-
this was the last of the 356s.
64, 65. And then, like I said, we called this a wolf in sheep's clothing. Because, like I said, the rules are pretty much wide open on everything except for engine displacement, and things. But also, too, if you notice that these things, there's some other parts in here, but, roll bars have to be, to Riley specs. You see the side intrusion
Okay.
bars, the crossbars, the top. It's not little stuff.
So that's why the Mexican guys are taking NASCAR cars, and they're a pretty easy fit for this.
And
These,
then you have to carry a spare.
this is all black sand polycarbonate.
Yeah, exactly. But and the nice thing is the 911s in the early days, they came with rev limiter rotors. The ignition
I've
rotor
seen those.
That goes in the distributor cap.
I've
right.
seen one.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen those.
On the early.
I think I got one out of a 914 once upon a time.
Yeah, well, they had them also. And the early 911s, they had the small diameter distributor. So, and up through like 68, so. But here's the thing is, I worked on these things all these years, this and that, and so I used to do with all my Volkswagen motors is people didn't know this, but the RPM of the distributor in a Volkswagen Type 1 motor and a 356 motor is the same.
Okay.
And same as in the early 911s with the small distributor.
Okay.
So people couldn't get rev limiters Volkswagens. Well, you buy the Porsche rev limiter rotor, you take your cap off, you pull the rotor off, you stick it on, put the cap back on, you got a rev limiter.
Have you ever seen one of them rev limiter rotors?
I haven't.
So there's a little tab on a spring.
Okay.
And it comes over, and what it does is it shorts the
what
coil
it is
spark
is
to
when,
the shaft.
When,
no
when
kidding.
the distributor, when the rotor turns,
Right.
it has
It's
a little slider,
Right.
and it's spring loaded, and the faster it turns, it goes further
Sure,
out.
sure.
And then when it hits up there,
His arc.
it
shorts
shorts
the
it
spark
out
to the shaft.
And so
brilliant.
you can so with the rev limiter rotor, you can take this thing idling, but doing nothing, hold the throttle wide open, and the rev limiter, the thing is, the rev limiter rotors in the 911s.
It's a pretty cool piece if you see it.
In early days 911s, you could get a 7100, or 6500, 7100, or 7300 because you had the T and the S's.
Right.
But then, and a 6-cylinder, 4-cylinder, it was the same speed.
Okay.
But they made them at 5500 or other ones.
Right.
And so people that were driving cars are crazy and like to miss shifts and over revved. I would put rev limiter rotors in my customers' motors.
Right.
And then, but the other thing too is when I had the motors on the dyno, is a little arm where the spring goes. If I wanted a little bit more,
You
I
could
could
bend
get
it a little
there,
bit,
I could
creep
tweak
up
it.
on it. Yeah,
But
that's
it's
pretty cool.
insurance.
Right. Absolutely.
There it is.
It's
And-
how slick.
So
how
this
slick is that?
this comes over and
Well, see,
touches that.
the centrifugal force, and when it comes up here, it misses, and then as
It
soon as it
shorts it
slows
to the
down,
ground.
it opens up.
Is that the coolest thing?
That is. I've never
Okay.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah, but now
Somewhere I have one of those.
With one of my first race cars, I also learned a lesson. Is all Bosch, rotors,
Yeah.
they have a resistor in them
Oh.
Yeah.
for noise suppression for the radio.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when you run an MSD, high voltage energy, I had this one where we picked up a random misfire, or sometimes it wouldn't want to start.
Right.
Couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, the MSD has such high energy that it fried
Yeah,
the
the
resistor,
resistor,
so you weren't getting spark.
Right.
But I want to keep the rev limiter, so really simple. What I did is, you see this JB weld?
Yeah.
The average person looking at it won't tell anything, but there's a resistor here, and in fact, standard rotors have a resistor in them.
Right.
So I just put this in my mill. I have a little tiny cutting tool,
Oh, there
and I
you
go
go.
in here, and I just cut it out because it goes down about that much, and that all disintegrates.
Solder
So
your
then
bus
all I
bar
do
in
is I
and,
get a piece of, solid copper wiring, like for
Yeah.
house. I bend it, I solder it here, solder it there, fill it with JB weld.
Done.
Good to go.
That's awesome.
I've been do-
MSD rev limiter
That's-
rotor.
that's
I've been
Voila.
I've been doing that for years.
That's awesome.
And like I said, there's no modification. It goes right in.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it all those.
That's pretty
distributors-
slick.
Somewhere I have one of those, Jimmy. We'll have to put one.
I was gonna say,
what we
heck-
need to do is put a little soft spring in it.
Yeah.
Take it to Glamis and put it in somebody's
Yeah.
dune buggy. You're it.
Yeah.
And then we'll go catch it.
That's.
But no, like I
Well,
said,
let's take a look at these motors. We're pretty excited to get these things. It's pretty cool to have motors from old race history, but that's a cool little car right there.
I think the last time this door's been open was like 04, 05.
Oh wow!
I've always just gone
So
for
these
the other one.
little motors have been collecting cobwebs for a day or two.
I told you they've been sitting here for forever.
Well, I am.
And like I said, this was the motor that when I bought that chassis was in it.
Okay.
But the motor wasn't enough for us. But then they wanted to start this whole project on redoing all the car and doing this and that and all the stuff. And what at that point in time, I said, because we were racing his formula cars and stuff, we go to the racetracks around here all the time. And I said, hey, look, let me go through, and do a safety inspection, make sure the brakes, suspension, everything else is good. And this motor ran but didn't make any power. Tune it up the best I could. And let's go do a track day. You guys drive this on the racetrack to make sure you're happy with it, because I don't want to do a whole conversion and have you say, I don't like it. So I did that.
So
And so that's the only time that I ran this motor.
I am
you know.
I am super excited about this one because of the story of you guys
Exactly.
swapping it
Right.
out
Yeah.
with some mechanic in
Yep.
Mexico so you could actually finish the race.
Yep.
That is really cool. But yeah, we're probably gonna actually start it and listen to it knock, and then we're gonna take it apart and basically diagnose what happened to the motor and then fix it. And we'll. Well, Ray, it's been fun.
Yep.
I appreciate all the fun stories and info, and we'll get these motors cleaned up and run up, and they will help our dune buggy program, our going to Glamis.
That's right, our Glamis
party,
program.
So
Several
pretty
sand rolls.
awesome.
Hi everyone, we're excited to announce Merlin's birthday celebration at Glamis this year. I've been planning it for over a year because he is turning 55 on March 14th. Anybody who wants to come out and join us is welcome to. We will be camping in, we used to call it Garbage Flats. We're gonna put up a little map so that you have a good reference to where you would find us. We are going to be renting an RV, having it delivered for us. So if you either want that or you have your own RV, feel free, whichever one you want to do. We're going through Camp in Style, and you can talk to either Nicole or Valerie in the office, and they will be more than happy to set you up. Please reference MOSG or Merlin's Old School Garage, so then they'll know more of where the area is that you want to have your camper delivered. Hope to see everybody out there on the 14th, 15th, and 16th. Looking forward to it.
So Merlin tells me we're going to Glamis for his birthday in March. We're gonna do an old school sand rail get together. Old school sand rails, high jumpers, banshees, Baja bugs, whatever we can put together. So I'm gonna get on Facebook Marketplace and see what we can find.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
Well, that didn't take long. A little bit of shopping on Marketplace. Then I remembered, I know somebody that's got a car. So we're headed over here to Yucca, to Richard's place, to pick up a old high jumper for 500 bucks. Should be pretty cool. We'll be there in a little bit. We'll take you along to see what it looks like, see what we bought. All right, we made it to Richard's. If you haven't been here, he's got all kinds of stuff. Look what we got. This'll work. Little desert car that will turn into a good scene. We got a trailer with it too, so that's kind of cool. We're gonna pick this thing up with the forklift and load it on there. Had to change some tires on the trailer. But well, we got the old girl back to the house on our one strap, and tow's pretty easy though. I think we can tow her behind the Jeep. Take the Jeep and the rail to Glamis. We'll see if these tires air up. Get some brake fluid in the brake system, let that bleed out. See if we have brakes or what we have to deal with there. And start stripping her down and see what she needs, putting her back together. Back to this old buggy here. It's been sitting on the trailer for a little while. Nice 5-wide wheels, steel wheels, we'll change them out. Transaxle needs some love. We'll get rid of them cutting brakes, chop off all this metal here, clean all this stuff up. Weather's changed. Sure is nicer than that snow in Utah. Just got back from a little road trip to Utah with Merlin and McKay. So thought I'd get back to work on the sand rail. It's missing some stuff in the front. All aluminum front end, whole beam is. Somebody painted it though. So we've been putting some aircraft remover on there and pressure washing it. Slowly getting that cleaned up. Hopefully it'll clean up enough that we can polish it. Got all the extra metal cut off of this thing, so it's starting to look like a rail finally. Got a few more things that we need to do. We are gonna have to move the shifters and all the pedals. Shifter probably has to move. Not really sure yet. We're checking that out. Got some welding done back here by the transaxle where it was broke. Got to get this whole thing sanded down and ready for paint. But we got to get our seats ready first, which, by the way, check these out. Showed up today. New Corbeau seats. So we're going to throw them in there really quick and see how they fit, if they fit. I was a little worried that they would be a little wide and may not fit, but we'll see. They look good in the car. Hopefully they fit in the car. We're probably going to take that and flip it over, put it on top so it's a little bit higher and not hitting your legs. Kind of like I thought. This shifter is a little bit close to the arm for the seat. By the time another seat gets in there, it won't have so much elbow room. So we're probably gonna have to cut those, move it forward, extend this, somehow get it clocked right, and hopefully it'll work afterwards. We'll see. So, project list. First, get the seats mounted, cut the pedals off, shorten these tubes for the clutch cable and the throttle cable. Once we get the seats mounted, we'll cut this shifter, we'll put it where we want it, try and just make the car comfortable. That way we can have a good time. It's a lot more work than I thought on this car, but it was a good price. And Merlin's got me a motor for free, so I can't complain too much. Other than that, got some paint. Brakes are pretty cool, cut for the sand. No backing plate. Still got pads on them. We'll get all this off. Once we get that shifter moved, we will take transaxle out, clean it up, paint it, clean up those axles. And hopefully this car will be pretty nice looking when it's all said and done. Hopefully it's doing wheelies. Anyways, gonna get to work on it and we'll check in later. Well, that cleaned up better than I thought. Got a little bit into the tubing, gonna have to weld that in a little bit, but got rid of them ugly brackets. Still got a couple of brackets to get rid of here. Change this bolt over, flip this Johnny joint on top. So our steering wheel is above this cross member. Probably have to shorten these tubes, bend them back once we get those pedals set, and go from there. Well, it's been a couple days. I haven't done any filming, but spent some time on the buggy today. This
A dune buggy. A bushwhacker sand buggy equipped with an aircraft type tubing frame. Completely automatic wire welded. Has a Volkswagen transmission and front end. It's from Sand Buggy Supply of Santa Fe Springs, California.
garage is an absolute disaster. It's like a bomb went off in here. I've been working on this front end to try and get it cleaned up for hours and hours. So it's just paint all over it. I'm wheeling it, stripper and everything. I got the seats mounted today. They came out pretty good. Ended up not having to move the shifter, so it'll work right where it's at. It's a little far back, but it isn't worth the hassle to move it. Got the pedals moved forward. That's where they were on that bar, and they came all the way up to this bar. I'm a short guy. So, anyway, that's the progress.